Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Podcast. I'm Jason Abrams, and this is the place where we lift the curtain on the world of real estate like never before. Every week, I sit down with visionaries, pirates, and mavericks. We're here to document, demonstrate, and most importantly, demystify their game-changing models and systems. What secrets propel them to the top? And how are they living their dreams? This is about passion, it's about strategy, but above all, it's about real, tangible success. So buckle up and let's dive in. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Podcast. I'm excited. I am excited about this show. I cannot hide it because the person that we have as a guest today has been an inspiration to me my entire career. She's been doing this for 27 years. She was ranked the #1 real estate team in South Florida by Retrends in 23. I'm telling you, she has helped over 8,000 clients reach their goal, and she's generated over $3 billion in volume. And if that was all it was, friends, I wouldn't be as excited. But she's done it with such grace and such elegance, and she is a mentor of mine. I am talking none other than Laurie Reader, known as Laurie Reader. Here's the thing. Laurie is an absolute force of nature. She's going to go through and talk about exactly how she started in the business and how she built this team. She's then going to talk about the secrets to making sure that every single person that wakes up each day to help you on your journey, whether that's people in the database, agents on your team, even other friends at the brokerage, can conspire to make your world as big as you want. And she's going to give you the secret of how to do it. This is Laurie Reader. Laurie, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Super excited when I got the call to be on your podcast. So thank you.
Well, I had to build up the courage to call, but I'm so glad you said yes. So we start every show the same. I believe that we are in the greatest industry the world has ever known at the greatest time to be in it. But all of us got here in a different way. So take a second. We're all going to sit back. We want to hear, how did you find the real estate business?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I also am in love with our industry, and I believe we are about to rocket into the best times we've ever seen, both for us and the consumer. I ended up in real estate in a crazy way, Jason. My mom and dad were real estate brokers for 30 plus years. I went to my first open house when I was 10. Just fell in love with probably being with my mom, but also just loved people. When I was just about 30, 31, 32, I went.
Wait a minute. I'm not going to let you go from 10 to 32.
Okay.
So where in the world is this happening? You grew up in where at?
I grew up in sunny, beautiful, beachy South Florida.
Okay.
Yes, truly. I loved going with my mom to open houses. I loved being in the office. I would literally sit under her desk with my crayons and my coloring books and what have you. And I just love being around people.
It's so good. You were learning real estate before everyone else was learning to ride a bike.
I'll tell you what I was learning. I was very lucky that I had a bird's eye view of parents who literally believed in service, right? And helping others. And I think real estate was a natural for them. And I would watch my mom in particular. My dad was more the broker. My mom was more out working with clients like I did. And I would just watch her, take care of people. Sometimes it was a very happy situation and sometimes it was a very sad situation, but I learned the meaning of service, and the way they provided that was through real estate.
I love that. So you don't go right into it though out of high school.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. My whole grand plan for myself was to have a family. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Never really saw myself as an entrepreneur. It's not what I saw. I thought to myself, the greatest gift I could give was to have a family and be with my kids.
I love that idea, but I can't even reconcile that with the woman that I know so well who mentors me, who lives this $1 billion-a-year business. Like, you're the consummate entrepreneur.
I don't recognize her either until life can throw you a curve. I had the great pleasure, and I will say some pain. My ex-husband, who is sadly deceased now, that would be my kid's dad. We moved around the world, including living in Sydney, Australia for about 4 to 5 years while he built his business. And I was raising kids. And when we came back to the States, at that point, I was going through a divorce. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do with my life? Right now, I'm starting to completely see things a little bit differently. And I want to get out into the world and I want to help people. And how am I going to do that? Called my parents and I'm like, I'm going through this divorce. I need to go back to work. I want to do something. There was about a 5-year period before I started a family. I was a court reporter, a stenographer, the people who sit in the courtroom and type hundreds of words a minute.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I did that for 5 years. That was between while in college and before married and having a family. And the funny irony about me being a court reporter, Jason, is that I don't know how to be quiet. Like I'm I love to chat. So imagine I'm sitting there for hours, but it was a great experience, really good experience. And I loved it. I loved being a court reporter. And then after that is when I started my family. So when we moved back to the US from Australia, I called my mom and dad. I said, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. Like I've got to make some decisions. I'm not ready to leave my kids. They were 3 and 6. And I need something that I can make a great living. I can have interaction with people and be a mom. And my mom said, well, honey, I'm going to sign you up for a real estate class. And I'm like, I am never doing real estate. You and dad did it. I want my own thing. I'm not doing what you did. And I called her. We had this conversation repeatedly. And about 10 days later, I'm like, I'm still thinking about the direction I want to take. And she's like, oh, it's all good. You're signed up.
By the way, that is such a realtor answer.
Yes.
Don't worry. I signed you up.
You're good. And you start Monday. And I'm like, I start Monday. So I instead of pushing back, I thought, let me just take the class. I mean, it's 1 week. How hard could it be? Went through the class. I made all these relationships in the classroom with people who were getting their real estate license, not even realizing I was already recruiting for my parents' company, right? Because all these people were getting their license. I'm like, well, come with me. We could work together, And I got my real estate license. And honestly, Jason, 6 weeks into it, I thought I'd hit the lottery. Wow.
There's such an interesting thing about there's this great book by Dr. Michael Singer called The Surrender Experience. And he talks about, he hits this phase in his life where he just says, any opportunity that comes my way, I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to show up and see what happens. And the joy that comes from being absolved from the idea of critical choice in some moments in life. You look up and say, okay, I'm already signed up. I'm just going to go. Now it's less than 90 days later, and you're thrilled that you did.
I was, and it gave me freedom to be a mom and not miss out on anything that was important to me. At this point, now I'm a single mom. I had this experience, which I would really love to share with you. I'll be brief on it. I was less than 3 to 6 months in the business. I had one at the JCC and one in first grade. I meet a woman at the JCC, single mom, 2 kids, and I meet her. We exchange words, and she tells me she's struggling. She can't find a rental. She's worked with 4 to 5 agents, and they all drop her because there's just no money to be made. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I said to her, I'm going to help you. I'm going to find you and your girls the perfect place. I literally must have shown her, 20, 30 rentals in the price range of $700 to $800. So you do the math. I was probably making $50 maybe.
What year is this?
I'm 25 years in the business, and this is in my first or second year.
Okay, so we're late 90s.
Yes, and nothing better could have happened to me. She says that it was her gift. I say it was my gift. So I find her a rental. I help her physically move in. We become friends. I take care of this woman. She now has the best life ever. We're still in touch. 5 to 6 weeks post her rental, I get a phone call. Laurie, my name is Dr. Stephen Brown. You don't know me, but my new girlfriend said You changed her life.
That's so good.
He said, I am buying a condo in the Millennium for $1.3 million. Now, Jason, that's $10 million today.
Yeah.
He said, and Laurie, as a gift, if you would just come with me, meet me there, all you have to do is sign a paper for the new construction, and you're going to get 6% of $1.3 million. Now, Jason, I didn't even know what he was talking about. So I called my dad, who's the broker. He's like, get in the car and go. So I'll tell you, in my first year of real estate, where I was struggling financially and living moment to moment, paycheck to paycheck, I was receiving income from this. I mean, the math, how much money is that? 6% of 1.3 million.
It's $66,000. A lot of money.
And even though my mom and dad took a healthy part of my split,
Good, they loved you.
they were trying to teach me, and I'm so thankful they did, to treat my business like a business. That really changed my life and impacted me forever until this day, because I am reminded daily about why I do what I do and why I am passionate to teach others to do what I do.
But the amazing part of that story, and it's easy to get lost in the big numbers, but when you go back and realize, if you don't wake up and go to the JCC and have a conversation with someone that you didn't know about a piece of rental real estate, which at the time was discounted by everyone else, none of that happens, Laurie. That's why I think Gary, and when we say Gary on this show, we're referring to Gary Keller, who wrote the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, with Jay Papasan and Dave Jenks. It's the namesake for the show, but he says real estate is a contact sport. I got to talk to people.
It is. And the best advice I ever got in the very beginning from my mom was, your job every day is, you don't go home until you've had 5 conversations that were two-way conversations. That means you're going to hand your business card to 5 people and you're going to have a two-way conversation. And I took that literally. When you don't know, you don't know. You just go do what people tell you. And I was also at that point, Jason, I knew I could learn from real estate agents that were very powerful in my farm and in my market. My focus in that first year was all about relationship building. They loved me so much, they would help me write contracts on the hood of their car because they knew I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I feel so strongly, and I think with so much tech, and I know we'll talk about that in a little while, and without that human connection and the relationships, I'm not sure all of the other bells and whistles and tech matter.
I think people do business with people they like. Now, they learn to trust and the competency in the technology, but you got to be likable.
You do. And you have to understand that where I think real estate agents could really level up is every single time you build a relationship. The way I looked at it was, look, I'm going to make your life better, the consumer or the agent I was building a relationship with. I'm going to provide value to you. And I went deep with them, and they became like my PR. I didn't have money to spend for marketing when I got into the business. My marketing was my relationship, was me meeting Jason and Jason saying, I just had this experience. Look, I'm not even buying a house, but who do you know? Because this lady's amazing. I took it literally. You want people to be your ambassadors. Being back at KW, I'll tell you, on a daily, just before you and I got on, I got another referral. Because I'm intentional. I'm at the conferences. I'm not hanging around the people I brought 20 people to the conference. I'm not with them. I'm out meeting other people, building relationships. These real estate agents, they're not my competitors. They're my coworkers in a sense.
100%. There has always been a cooperation between real estate agents. And by the way, we have listeners at every single real estate company on the planet that listen to this. We're the number one podcast in our space. And what you never hear on this show when you talk to the top agents is any animosity across brand. All you hear is, these are our real estate brothers and sisters. We should all be sharing and working together.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't even remember half of who works where. It's not about that. We're all trying to build businesses. We're all trying to get better and find ways to help build others and provide more value. No, it's very, very much a cooperative environment.
Well, so in this zeal of getting better, I mean, you enter the industry the way that you do. You have the success that you did. You obviously start building. Now, I hate to yada, 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 but yada, yada later, you have hundreds of agents and you're doing this giant business. What's the thing that you all do that sets you apart?
So there's two things for me that are complete non-negotiables. And this is early on in my world. And that's why I ended up at Keller Williams, because it was the first environment that I could find that matched my culture. Now we're going back 10, 15 years ago. The two things for me are all about our culture, our environment. You can use either word. To me, they're very similar. Your community, your culture, your environment. And the other thing that goes side by side with that is relationships, period. How we're going to build them, the value we're going to provide to them, how we're going to connect. So it's really two-step. To me, it's really important to say is that, I think a lot of real estate agents over the last 18 months, and, I'm an open book. I'll tell you guys, it's been a ride, right? It's been tough. I'm strangely, extremely grateful for it. I found so many flaws in my business and I was able to correct them, right? So I do believe that the more we fail, the quicker we get to success.
Did you hear what she just said? She said the market got tough and the flaws in my business got exposed. You do realize that she's absolutely failing her way to success. And even when the flaws get exposed, she's still running an incredible company. But what did she do? She didn't look up and say, we're just not going to do it perfect. And oh, by the way, we're still selling so many houses. We're still number one, even with the flaws. Why would we fix them? You know what the gift of the shift is? The gift of the shift is when the flaws are exposed in your business, which all changing markets expose. Being able to look up and say, okay, no judgment. We needed to do some things in order to make this an even more perfect experience. And that's the journey that we went on. Friends, don't run away when you see the problems in your business. Run towards them. That's the difference between someone who grows as a business owner and someone who just owns a business.
We're just coming off now from March, the best, most powerful month we've had in a year and a half.
Wow.
Like a powerful month. It's because we went back to our roots of like, look, are we really focused on relationship building and are we teaching it to our agents and are they taking it out there to the consumer?
I want you to unpack this for me and I want you to take me through it. If out there in podcast land, I know half of you are driving a car right now. Don't try to take notes. I take the notes. If you want the notes, go to MREAnotes.com. Enter in your name and email, and we send you out the notes for every episode. That happens every Thursday. The show drops Monday. The notes come out Thursday. I am feverishly writing the whole time. Laurie, unpack relationships to me. I'm a real estate agent. How do I go do it?
So when I think about exactly how we teach our company and how I coach and what have you, I look at the relationship, and the first thing I want to know is like, what do I want to achieve out of this? What's in it for you, the consumer, or the other agent? And what's in it for me, the real estate entrepreneur? What are we both going to get out of it? And I go back to the total win-win relationship. For real estate agents, again, I have a tech stack that's very powerful. But without me having a relationship with that consumer, I am not going to win. So first and foremost is getting belly to belly, face to face. We got to get off Zoom unless it's mandatory, right? South Florida, it's common. We have people moving from all over the world. We do have to use Zoom, but predominantly we want to get face to face, belly to belly. And I want to sit with you, Jason, and I don't care if you're buying or selling, it makes no difference to me. I need to probably ask you so many questions so that I can first build the bridge of trust with you, right? Look, we're not going to just get people we don't know into a room and have them spilling their guts out to us. And I think agents, you have to understand that there are steps to the process. It's kind of like on your first date, you're not going to just like lean over across the table and plant one on her.
No, we are not advocating for the lean over plant one on her movement.
No, we are not. So agents have got to be patient. This is a process. Get into your head today that if I meet you, Mr. Smith, today, and you're going to be my client, that we may get into a contract in the next 90 to 120 days. You got to slow down a little bit, right? First meeting, you want to have that phone call if that's what it is. I don't know if it's inbound, outbound, depends on how you're lead generating. And it's really try to stay away from real estate, believe it or not, and just ask them questions about what's important to you. How long have you been considering this? oh, wow, you're going through that with your family. Like, you know what? I hear you. And I want to be really sympathetic to that, right? Really genuinely listening. You got to know your questions. You have to understand your objection handlers, but you need to listen above everything else. And depending on what the consumer says, that should really trigger your next question.
Mm.
And I think what happens is agents, they want to get so fast to how many bedrooms do you need? And do you need a pool? And how big does the yard need to be? Like, and honestly, once you build the bridge of trust and that consumer, if it's okay to refer to them as the consumer, the client, however, because I think you have to earn the right for them to be your client. First, they are the consumer. They are not your client until you earn that right and you've built the bridge of trust.
I love that. If you haven't listened to Phil Jones's episode, go give that one a listen out there, because what he says is that questions are the fuel of every conversation. And the person who asks them is the one that literally is driving the discussion, which is what you're saying.
And it sounds basic. And look, I'm a student always, and I always want to learn. And when people ask me this question, I will sit here for an hour and talk to you about, you've got to ask questions. You must go deeper, learn about their family. They said they needed a 3-bedroom. Hey, listen, Jason, tell me specifically what's important about that 3-bedroom. And I'm going to probably ask you about 5 questions just on that one layer, because I want you to leave the room saying, you know what? I was heard. This real estate agent, she heard me. She understands me. She knows my challenges, my fears, and she knows what I'm excited about. We have to take a breath and get to know the people that want to hire us. The value you give, the questions you ask, the relationship that you build is going to equal your compensation.
So I'm going through this relationship. So I have step 1, I got to figure out, what am I trying to accomplish? And this is, what is the consumer trying to accomplish? And then me, the agent, what am I trying to accomplish? Because this has to be win-win. Then number 2 is, even if I have a phone call in between, my goal is to get face-to-face. Once I get face-to-face, priority number 1 is build the bridge of trust. And I'm going to do that by asking questions and listening to answers.
Yes. I'm going to make sure that you have faith in me and you trust me, and you're going to be willing to be truthful with me. You're going to feel comfortable enough to take down your wall and tell me really what's going on and really what you need. You and I both know people buying and selling real estate, something's going on in their lives. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it's a disaster.
So for these folks, some of them I'm going to do business with right away. And I'm using right away as 90 days, 120. I think to me that's right away.
Yes.
A lot of them I'm not. How do I build a relationship long-term with these folks? What's the sort of touch programs that y'all use?
This instant gratification thing is a killer in a real estate business, right? For me, when I meet you, Jason, and we have these conversations, look, I'm 25 years in the business. My repeat and referral it's unmatchable, right? And it's because when we got into the relationship, it was for life. And if it was to sell your grandma's house, and it was to sell your uncle's house and your coworker's house, that's how I truly view the business. Now, once I'm in that relationship, I think there's a lot of real estate agents that I would like to help, in the sense of, yes, emailing pieces of value to your database. Yes, sending text messages and video text messages, only if they have valuable information to them.
And only in a TCPA friendly and compliant way.
Exactly. Let's say somebody's going to buy from me in 2 years. The kid's graduating high school in 2 years and they want to relocate. That's a typical conversation. I am quarterly on the phone, quarterly. And at least once or twice in that year, I am breaking bread with them, whether it's just a coffee at Starbucks. Maybe I do a pop by at their house. It's, I don't know, it's spring and I bring them a little basket, whatever it is, I'm going to make sure that we are speaking or seeing each other on top of all the other touches. Now, myself as a real estate team, we do constantly year-round touches, physical touches, meaning we do a backpack drive, we do client appreciation events, I do toy drives. And one of the things that we changed in the last 5 years, most teams and most real estate brokerages, what they do is let's call it our backpack drive. It's a back to school. I send 1,000 kids a year back to school, underprivileged kids, very sad, kills me, breaks my heart, with completely stuffed backpacks with everything they need to walk into school their first day feeling loud, proud, and confident. So, what we did 5 years ago, and I encourage everyone to do, is don't just include your real estate team. We opened this to the entire community. So, my database of 200,000 are all invited. Can I tell you the amount of people I've never sold a house to, but we are communicating with, say, thank you for letting me drop off 2 backpacks. Thank you for letting me be a part of something, because I want to be a part of something, but I don't have the ability to do what you're doing.
Well, let's actually unpack this one because I like unpacking backpacks. How do you actually do that? Do you provide a list of the type of backpack and everything you want in it, and then people just go and assemble it on their own?
Yes, and anyone who wants from me the blueprint, they can have it. We have different Title I schools that we have relationships with. We know exactly the type of backpack. We know what the supplies are. And then through Amazon, we put everything right online. Now, everybody doesn't have to go through Amazon. I have people who go to the dollar store, the $5 store, Walmart, Target, whatever, and they show up at our office. And then my company, including if you want to bring your kids, if you're a community member, even if we just met you, they come and stuff the backpacks. They want to touch it. They want to be a part of something that's doing something for other people. Because look, if you can't give back, then I don't even know what we're doing.
It's so simple. And by the way, that's the highest compliment we give on this show, is it's so simple. Because what you're saying ostensibly is I got to meet people, I got to ask questions, some that I got to get into service with, the others I got to talk to at least 4 times a year. I got to try to break bed with them a couple times, and then I give them opportunities to do good things with me.
Yeah. And think about this. Every real estate agent, when you meet with a consumer, you have to think to yourself, from the second you start that relationship, am I earning a 5-star review anywhere? Google, you name it. I don't care where you get reviewed. Because that little review, it's kind of like a stadium with 50,000 people looking at it. The whole world of reviews, I think, has really changed the way people behave, which makes me happy. I'm proud to tell you I've got over 4,000 or 5,000 reviews. That's part of my business. If you work with us, you will know from the moment you're doing business with us, we expect a 5-star review. And if we are not behaving that way, we want to correct it right away.
That's so interesting, though. Let's unpack reviews for a minute, because there's a lot of folks that say, if I get one, great. If I don't, no big deal. It sounds like this is a focus for you.
It's a pillar. That's a lead generator. So think about this. When's the last time you and your wife were doing anything, buying something, going somewhere, hiring someone, a doctor, an accountant, it doesn't matter. Do you not go and look them up? People want to know who they're meeting, who they're communicating with, and it gives the consumer like a huge level already of trust that, wow, like this person, this guy, Jason, he worked with 20 different people and they all said they had a good experience with him. Your review should be a lead generator. It's a pillar and it's free.
I love all that. How do you get people to do it? Do they just naturally, without being asked, to go take the initiative?
It's no different than lead generating for a listing, right? You start the conversation from the very, very beginning. You let the client know, listen, I want you to know, Mr. Smith, that I'm going to be working for that 5-star review. Please, it's part of my job. It's part of my passion. If at any time I am not performing to that 5 stars, do you promise me now you'll let me know so I can correct it? And they're like, wow, thank you. Yes. And I'm like, look, I'm here to learn too. I want to get better. I give them permission to correct me. My entire team talks about it. Listing managers, transaction managers, you all have to speak the same language. And then once they're about 30 days out after the closing, because we don't want to start hounding them when they're moving in or moving out, what have you, we start calling. We may send an email, we may send a text, but let me tell you, the way you get it done is on the phone. And I'll call, let me say, hey, Steve, I noticed that you didn't get to the review yet. I'll be so grateful if you do. And he's like, Laurie, I can't wait to write your review, but I'm bogged out. I'm like, it's all good. I'm just going to bug you until you do it, and I'm playful. It's no different than lead generating for a listing.
Walk me through. Okay, so we covered relationships, we covered reviews, we covered backpacks. I want to cover culture and environment. Take a few minutes. And when you say culture and you say environment, what do you mean?
I mean that if you don't completely live the core values of Laurie Reader Real Estate, then we're not a match.
What are your core values?
My favorite core value is great human. And you'll see it on our baseball caps, and you'll see it on our shirts, and you'll see it everywhere. So I'll come back to that. But you have to embody the core values of who we are and how we're made. If you are a $500,000 income earner, but you don't align with the core values, then we're just not a good fit, right? The money comes second, right? People over profit. I've been saying it for 25 years. I mean it. People over profit. So our culture, we really do follow our core values. It's being a great human. It's having grit. It's owning the outcome.
The thing that you just said about it doesn't matter how much money you make if you're not the right person. We had Laurie Reader. Laurie Reader, if you haven't listened to his show, you should, with us. He did an amazing episode. And what he said is, he said, a lot of people expand their exposure. They get wide on exposure, but they don't go deep enough on character.
That's right.
And over time, that gets revealed.
Once a month, we do what's called Cheers for Peers. It's strictly a 25, 30-minute meeting on Zoom, and we are talking about people who showed behavior outside of the norm. Let me tell you, you got 60, 70 people on a Zoom, and they all have their hand raised because they want to shout someone out. And it's all about like helping others win, right? We got to take care of ourselves for sure. But I have a Slack channel. It's called Real Estate 911. People diving in to help other agents. I mean, we've got sales managers, but when you've got 60 plus agents, you need more help. It's about putting yourself aside and helping another human so that they can win. And that is the culture of my company. And if you don't embody that, we are just not a fit. And I don't have anything against people who don't embody that. I think that's how you run your business. But for us, it's about giving back. It's being philanthropic. It's showing up. It's contributing. It's being a great human. It's owning the outcome and not pointing the finger. It's being solution oriented. Hey, Laurie, I've got a challenge. Look, I don't like how this is going, but you know what? I'm going to come up with a solution. Would you be open to hearing my solutions? Like, those are the conversations I want to have. Don't come to me and say, this is wrong with no solution.
Why does it matter? Like, what do you say to the person who says, look, this culture thing is so airy-fairy. Like, I'm just going to go make a bunch of money and I'm going to have the 4-door Porsche instead of the 2-door.
Because that doesn't build a sustainable, scalable, duplicatable business. What I want is at the end of the day for people to go home to their families and say, wow, I am appreciated, I'm loved, I'm respected, I'm cared for, and the environment I work in, I never want to leave it. It's everything that I need.
That's so good.
We just found out, it will be announced next month, that we were voted #1 place to work in our area. I was shocked because I don't even know how that happens. It matters to me, Jason. It really does. The money is the easy part, in my opinion. The money is the easy part, but creating an environment where you have great humans that really do want to lift others up and they want to give back and they want to help. That's everything, isn't it?
Well, that kind of brings me to my kind of last question. And that, at this point, the kind of success that you've had, you can kind of pretty much live anywhere you want. You can pretty much drive whatever you want. You can go anywhere you want on vacation. Like you can live whatever life you want to have at this point. You've earned it. What gets you up in the morning to still hang out with real estate agents and not be on a beach somewhere retired?
I love it. Well, it's funny that you asked that question. So, and thank you for all your compliments. Very kind of you. I think I'm blushing a little bit. The first thing that hits my brain in the morning, and it's been this way for so many years, I can't count, and this is something I love to teach and coach, is so there's about 70 to 100 people who work at our company. Why do they stay? What am I doing as a leader to provide value to them? Why am I still their choice? What are you doing today, Laurie, to get better at what you do? And I ask myself that question. I'm very humbled about the person who says, even if you're brand new or you've been doing this 25 years, I trust you to make a living at your company.
That's so profound. I know I'm breaking in a lot today, but here's the thing. She looks up and sees owning this company as a covenant. It's almost a holy calling. Who do I need to be That's the question she's asking herself time and time again. Who do I need to be such that I can credibly say to everybody in my organization, their life is going to be better because they're here? How did her people look up and trust her and say, gosh, I trust you, Laurie, that I'm going to be able to make a living here. I trust you, Laurie, that my life is going to get bigger. I trust you, Laurie, that I'll be able to go and feed my family and do the things I want to do. I trust you, Laurie, so that you're going to help me build the business that will fund my big life. Do you understand what an awesome responsibility that is? I know you do, because so many of you own businesses. Here's what I want you to think about. Who do you need to become such that? That's the line. Who do I need to become such that blank? That's what she's asking. And she's asking it in so many different parts of her life. I want you to ask it in just one right now to make it easy. Who do you need to become such that the people in your organization get the things that they want to have when they want to have them? You know why that's the question? Because Gary Keller taught me that that's the definition of leadership.
My cup really does fill up when I can help another human. We just had a handful of agents. They're finishing their first year. Some of them are making it into the top 10. And they're telling me, Laurie, I just took a vacation. I haven't had one in 5 years. And I took my whole family to Disney. I just bought my mom a car. One agent said to me, he's now 2 years with me and he's a top 5 agent. He's killing it. He told me in his first 90 days, I will never have to say no to my daughter again when she asks me for something.
Oh my gosh.
And he cried to me.
I'm tearing up now just hearing that.
He said, Laurie, I'll never have to say no to my daughter. He said, because I was so down on my luck, I couldn't even go to McDonald's. And this is like a really upstanding, polished guy. But people, life can get you, Jason.
Yeah.
Real estate is a great avenue. People get into it, I think, for the freedom, for the money, hopefully to help others and the service that you can provide. I think the piece, if we can teach and coach better and work on, is the commitment and the work piece. We'd see our industry really, really flying. And I think we will see that in the coming year.
Laurie, I think that you are a genius. I really do. I say that unabashedly. The way that you see the world, the simplicity you bring to complex ideas, and the elimination of everything that would confuse it to just get back to the most simple and basic, which is people matter, the way we show up matters, relationships matter, and that's what we're going to focus on.
And live your life in an open house, not in an office. Make open houses like I did. I lived in vacant open houses 5 days a week because that's where I was going to meet people.
100%. All right, Laurie, we want to invite you to the lightning round. We are going to ask you a series of questions. We want the first thing that comes to your mind. Will you play with us?
I love games.
Perfect. What is your favorite color?
Pink. Duh.
What is your favorite food?
Oh my God. Loaded nachos.
Stop the lightning round. They're so good. The thing about a good nacho is that you can go hog wild on different toppings.
Well, it's got to have good guacamole.
Well, that's a staple. That's a staple.
I'm a nacho nut.
Yeah, and by the way, anyone who wants to confuse an avocado toast with guacamole, this is not the program for you. You need to find a different podcast to listen to because that won't be tolerated.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, back into the round. What sound do you love?
I love the sound of running water like a waterfall.
Do you have a favorite movie?
I do.
What is it?
It's kind of embarrassing. It's The Notebook.
Okay, stop the lightning round. What? Now you have to explain it. What do you love about that movie?
It's the most beautiful love story I've ever seen in my life.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with that.
And I'll tell you, my husband and I did a road trip 10 years ago, and we read each other the book.
Really?
We did.
I love that. Okay, great. Is there a book that you think should be on the shelf of every real estate agent on the planet?
Yes, especially if you want to be able to have any sort of a team, even if it's 2 people, and I think you're going to need someone. Hands down, The Energy Bus by, I think it's John Gordon. And I heard about that book, 15 years ago. And I've probably given it out 500 times.
It's a great book.
Love The Energy. It's so simple. And I also love the book Winning by Tim Grover.
Yeah, friend of this program. Great guy.
Yeah, Gary turned me on to him. And that's how I ended up reading that book. And it was just so great.
I will say, for those of you out there in TV land here, if you like The Energy Bus, great book, read it. Check out The Energy Clock also by Molly Fletcher. It's a great read. She has a real interesting take on it that I think is awesome. What about a podcast, Laurie? Is there anything other than this one that you listen to?
Yeah, there's a podcast that I really love. Well, I like a lot of them. Diary of a CEO.
I'm not familiar.
It's great. Interviews all kinds of CEOs and gives you a bird's eye view. And I want to be better at my role. So I'm always looking for ways to fill my brain with different.
Where's the vacation spot, Laurie? If I'm going on one trip, where should I go?
I'm going back to for my 10th time this summer. I'm going to Alaska.
Where in Alaska do you like to go?
Well, first of all, I love to go to Seattle, spend a week in Seattle, and then hop on a cruise ship and go all through Alaska.
There it is. Kristen Cole, Cody Gibson, they'd be proud, hailing from Alaska. Listen to their episodes as well. Laurie, I just want to say, you inspire me. I am your biggest fan, crushing on you from afar. I love what you're doing for the industry, and I love how you show up for your people.
Oh, Jason, I'm so grateful. I admire you. You have done things for this company, and I'm just in awe of you. Thank you.
My honor. Everybody, that was Laurie Reader. There it is. It's such an unbelievable story. I mean, think about when she gets into the real estate business, she felt 1 trillion miles away from the success that she is now. But you know what you hear in her voice? She loves real estate. Gary Keller often says, Jason, we do it for the love of real estate. And that means so much more than I like looking at houses. It means that when you make peace with the process, when you wake up every day and you love taking people on the journey, you have become fulfilled in your career. And you hear her talk about that all the time. She loves taking buyers and sellers through the journey. Even early in her career, when she's helping people do that for rentals, you hear her talk about that. Then later in her career, you hear, I love taking people through the journey of leadership so that they get the things they want, which truly means that Laurie Reader wakes up every day and lives the word love. That's what I got out of what she said. The entire thing is underpinned with the idea of love. She loves her clients. She loves her agents. She loves the real estate business. She happens to love Keller Williams. She loves Gary Keller. Like, these things come through as I listen. And so I looked up and said, I'm going to go on the quest. And I literally did this after the interview and said, I'm going to go read a little bit about love. The book I found is called Real Love. It's by Dr. Greg Bayer. And on page 8, this is what he says. He says, real love is, quote, I care how you feel. Conditional love is, I like how you make me feel. Did you hear that? Listen to that again. Real love is, I care how you feel. Conditional love is, I like how you make me feel. Conditional love is what people give to us when we do what they want. And that's the only kind of love that most of us will ever know. You know what makes Laurie Reader so powerful and so important to this industry and this show? She wakes every day giving real love to as many people as she can. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things that's come out of all of the interviews that we've done. Friends, it's about real love, not conditional love. Go forth and do likewise. There it is. That wraps another episode. Friends, I don't know what you're taking out of this. I really don't. I'll tell you what I want you to be taking out of it, which is these are the people that are having tremendously big lives. And the reason it's happening is because they're setting up the models and systems to do just that. Gary Keller told me that leadership is teaching people how to think so that they do the things they need to do when they need to do them, so that ultimately they get the things they want when they want to have them. And that's what I want for you. You're all leaders, but it begins with leading ourselves. If you're enjoying this podcast, I want you to click the subscribe button anywhere that you get your podcasts. We want to be the voice in your head every single week, and every week we're dropping new content. We also send out a newsletter at the conclusion of every show to make sure that you get the highest points in the models and systems that were discussed. So if you want to sign up, I need your name and your email address. Head over to themillionaireagentpodcast.com. millionaireagentpodcast.com. Enter your name and your email address, and every week that newsletter will be in your box. Friends, you just went on a journey. I hope that what happens between now and the next time we meet is absolutely wonderful for you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not KWRI and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.